My name is Tina Hong. I'm the Director of Marketing for EyeVerify. I have with me Chris Barnett, our EVP Global Sales and Marketing. Chris is going to be uncharacteristically quiet today on stage. He's going to walk through the demos while I talk you through what we're all about. I had a bunch of setup. We don't have time to do that. We have a lot to show you in 7 minutes, and so we're going to dive right in. Eyeprint ID is a biometric authentication software based on eyes. And we're really excited to share today that we are live in market with over 36 financial institutions. Now, what we want to do today on stage is to show you a few examples of those live in-market implementations of Eyeprint ID. We want to show you a couple different use cases of how Eyeprint ID can be used. And we're going to spend just a minute at the end to talk about spoof detection, which is a big topic these days. So the very first demonstration that we're going to do is Mountain America Credit Union. And as Chris runs through a couple different verifications for you, and he will do a couple because they're pretty quick, I'll tell you a bit more about the product. So Eyeprint ID uses the pattern of blood vessels that are visible in the whites of your eyes and other microfeatures in and around your eye. This pattern is extremely complex. It is very unique to each individual, and it is consistent over time. The technology will store a highly encrypted template of your biometric data. No pictures are ever stored, and the template doesn't leave the device. So the next demo that we're going to move on to is Tangerine Bank. This represents what Tangerine Bank launched in April of this year. And again, he's going to do a couple of verifications because it's so fast and easy, while I tell you about our accuracy. Eyeprint ID's accuracy, in short, is the same as fingerprint. More importantly, it's the same as what we hear from people like you in financial institutions. What you say is required for payment-grade authentication, 1 over 50,000 false accept rate. Now, the next demonstration that we're going to move on to is Community America Credit Union. Now, real quick, for any New Yorkers in the room, I'm sorry if their logo looks a little bit like the Patriots. Not our logo. They're a customer of Digital Insight, which is part of NCR. Digital Insight provides mobile and digital banking infrastructure to hundreds of banks and credit unions in the United States. And what we really like about their user interface is that they've made it very easy for the user to choose between password, if they really wanted to, fingerprint or Eyeprint. Now, before we move on to our next demonstration, I do want to talk about fingerprint for just a minute. So as more and more Android devices are on the market with a fingerprint sensor, we do occasionally get the question, why wouldn't I just use that? And we have 3 answers for you. The first is availability. So less than 20% of the Android devices used for mobile banking in the United States today have a fingerprint sensor. Not only that, but not all of your iPhone users have a 5, 6, or 7. And it's going to be a long time before the market is saturated. So what are you going to do for that large chunk of customers that doesn't have fingerprint? The second answer, sorry, before I move on to that, actually, we're a software-only solution. So we work on, we can serve over 90% of your customers. Now, the second answer is choice. So even for some of those that have a fingerprint sensor, we see that some prefer to use Eyeprint ID for their mobile banking. And we've seen that in existing implementations. Just a side note on choice, we know that you guys like choice as well, which is why we're excited to partner with companies like Dayon, whom some of you hopefully saw on stage yesterday. By integrating Eyeprint ID into Dayon's Identity X platform, we're giving you guys another option to offer secure, convenient biometric authentication to your end users. So the third answer to the fingerprint question is security. So first of all, some of your users that have a fingerprint sensor may have another person registered on their device, their fingerprint registered on their device, and they may not want that person to access their mobile banking. More importantly, Eyeprint ID adds another layer of security. So if you think about it, most people would not have the same PIN to get into their device that they would use to get into their mobile banking app. So why would it be different for fingerprint? Adding Eyeprint ID provides another layer of security that a would-be thief would have to get through to get to that more valuable banking or payment information. So this leads us to our next demo for step-up authentication. This represents what RSA has done. They've integrated Eyeprint ID into their adaptive authentication mobile SDK. And so right now, Chris is already in his account. He might be able to do some basic activities like see balances. But when it comes to a higher risk activity, like transferring a larger amount of money, he's asked to do a step-up authentication at that time. So he's going to go ahead and do that. And he's in. He sent the money, rather. So our next use case is for a purchase. So Chris is now going to go shopping in our fictional pop shop, and he's going to buy this lovely owl eye sweater. And at the point where he makes the purchase, he's asked to do an authentication then. Now, before we move on to spoof detection, I just want to say there's so much more that we could have shown. One shout out I'll give to is to Alipay. We've been working with them for over a year now. They're a very large company. They have over 400 million users. So I encourage you to stop by our booth to talk about implementations like theirs, like our partnership with BioConnect, et cetera. But I do want to spend the last minute and 40 seconds talking about spoof detection, which is a big topic. So it came up at Mobile World Congress with a fingerprint spoof. More recently, news has shown that you can take Facebook photos and spoof facial recognition. So this is something the industry needs to address. What we're going to do now is Chris is going to attempt a spoof using a high-resolution photo. We might have time to curve it like it would be around a pickle jar. While I'm talking to you about Eyeprint ID 3.0, you're going to be looking for a result of not verified. So in Eyeprint ID 3.0, we have a new spoof detection decision engine, which is just a more sophisticated way of making a decision about a spoof. In addition to that, we have a number of new algorithms that we're using to look for spoofs. And we're excited not just about the number of algorithms that we're offering, but the fact that they're passive. They don't require the user to do a specific action to help us determine if it's a spoof. Now, if you have a second, please go to our blog. We just posted some content in cooperation with our chief scientist, Dr. Reza Derekshani, on the state of spoof detection today. He talks about the difference between passive and challenge response. So, not verified? Not verified. So that's what we have for you today. We encourage you to go to the Google Play or the App Store to try version 2.x of Eyeprint ID. You can also stop by our table in these last couple hours to see a preview of 3.0 or to ask us any questions. And thank you very much for your time.